What's up, guys? This is Kephas. Got into a little bit of trouble there, but we made it out alive. You gotta watch those venture company guys. They are high levels, just kind of randomly hanging out down here. So don't get their attention. But yeah, so like it's kind of funny because we were talking about like different like games and like why people like some games, what got people into other games, specifically like WoW. A lot of people that like WoW, what makes them like it, what makes them stick to only playing WoW. I think that's an interesting question, but it reminds me, like, I do get asked a lot from people, like what got me into World of Warcraft, what's my WoW origin story, right? So actually something I think would be kind of fun to talk about. So my WoW origin story, I guess it starts with, other Blizzard games, right? So like before WoW, my family, my cousins were really into Diablo 2. Diablo 1 and Diablo 2. By the time I was, into it, it was Diablo 2. And so I started playing Diablo 2 and I got really into it. I was never really that good. My cousins were like crazy, like botters, like doing all that crap, like they were really into it, like really high level, having all the best gear, just all kinds of stuff. My cousin was honestly, like, my cousin was fairly well known in the Diablo 2 world. He wrote a lot of guides. He went by the name Purell, as in the hand sanitizer, yes. Purell, he did some Pendlebot guides, that kind of stuff. If people were familiar with the Diablo 2 underworld, right? I had a cousin who was pretty well known in that, and so like that was the thing for a while. Like Diablo 2 was a big game for me, and I was really into it. I was like 15. My username was like Saiyan15 because I was a big Dragon Ball nerd, and so like we played Diablo 2 like crazy. It was fun, and eventually I remember seeing advertisements for Warcraft 3 that came out, and it was a big deal. Now, what I understood was that Warcraft was like StarCraft, right? So it was an RTS, which, to be honest, I really never was a big fan of RTS games. They just really weren't. That's one genre that, again, and there are some that I've played, like Kephas on the PlayStation. I was a big fan of those games. They're kind of like RTSs. Romance of the Three Kingdoms. I liked some of those. There were some RTSs that I got into, Empire Earth, some Age of Empires, But for whatever reason, I was never really a big StarCraft fan. And so I just kind of was like, I'm probably not going to be a big Warcraft fan. So I never really got interested in the Warcraft story series of games. And so when World of Warcraft came out, I didn't know what it was. I thought it was just another RTS game. I was like, okay, World of Warcraft, I hear a little bit about that. And so for a long time, like years, like, because WoW came out, and I mean, Warcraft 3, I don't remember when it came out, but it was, like early 2000s, or was it like late 90s? I don't even know. Well, World of Warcraft obviously came out in 2004, and from the beginning, I was like, some new RTS thing that Blizzard, that they did. And I wasn't even really that big of a Blizzard fan. Like, again, you guys know my motto. Fan of the games, not of the game developers. I might be like, ooh, those guys are the ones that made that cool game that I like. That's about as far as it goes. But, so eventually, I would hear a little bit about World of Warcraft, whatever. I had heard about a game called EverQuest in high school, and I had some friends that played it, and they were like, oh, yeah, it's cool, but you got to pay a subscription. And I thought that was stupid. I was like, of course, I was in high school, so I didn't have money to do whatever I want with, right? So, like, obviously, like, it was kind of, like, not an option at the time. Subscription for a video game sounded ridiculous. I was not interested in that at all. So like, I just kind of wrote that kind of game off. And then a long time later, I watched an episode of South Park, Make Love Not Warcraft. Everybody knows the story, right? And that showed me what World of Warcraft was. I, for one, loved the episode. I was really into the episode because I was really into South Park. Still am. Still love South Park. I think South Park's still funny. And that episode, though, like, is probably my favorite episode, and it introduced to me what World of Warcraft was. When I was watching, I was like, oh, that's World of Warcraft? I thought that was an RTS game. And no, it's this RPG with this humongous world, and you can make all these different races and classes and stuff. And I was like, holy crap, that looks incredible. I think the best investment that Blizzard ever made was releasing that episode. Doing that with South Park was probably one of the best things they ever did, because I am one of many people that have that similar story. You know, watched Make Love Not Warcraft, discovered World of Warcraft, and got into it after that. And I am one of those people. So, you know, I watched that episode, and for a while I was like, you know, I watched a couple videos about it, and I was like, wow, this looks awesome, dude. Like, what the heck is this game? And, you know, finally decided to, you know, give it a shot. And so what happened was, I went to GameStop one day, and they had the game on sale for like $9 or something. It was like a little disc you could buy, like you could buy the game for like $10. And so I bought the game, and I knew it was a subscription game, so I was like, fine, whatever. I've got my own money now. I'm an adult. And so I went home, installed the game back when you had to install it with discs. Yeah, I did that, and then I, you know, started playing it, and, you know, like, in the beginning, like, I was so blown away by everything. Like, I was like, whoa, this game is, I mean, I was a noob. I was making, like, I made a human warrior, because you know what, that's what you do, right? Human warrior. And, you know, I'm playing it for a while, and I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. What is this? Like, what is going on? Like, I was blown away by all of it. So I just kind of kept playing. Like, I remember I started playing around Christmas time, and they had like this thing that if you ran through it, it would turn you into like a gnome elf or something like that. And I did that, and I thought I was stuck that way forever. And someone was like in chat, like, how do I not be an elf? And people were like, oh, you gotta delete your character and start over. Like, people were trolling me. And so, like, I quickly realized they were full of crap, and then I discovered buffs, and yeah. So, like, that's, you know, back then, the game did not tell you anything. I mean, you just had to figure it all out. So, like, I was using Thoughtbot, Wowhead, I think WoWWiki, I think was what it was at the time. And, you know, looking up videos on YouTube, you know, all kinds of stuff like that. And so, like, you know, I played for a long time. I mean, I was in college, so, and of course, as you guys know, you know, I play a lot of different games. So, like, I leveled up very slowly. Very slowly. I mean, it took me a very long time to level up. Now, I started playing, like, right before Burning Crusade came out. So, like, basically, you can say that I was never around in vanilla. I played vanilla, obviously, because you had to, but I was probably, I wasn't a vanilla kid. I was a BC kid. And so, like, because, like, basically, when I started playing, it was December of 06, in January of 07 was when BC came out. I didn't even know this either, by the way. I had no idea that there was an expansion until way later. You know, so basically, like, I was playing it, whatever, and I started realizing, like, you know, my eyes, I'm having a lot of eye strain, like, reading these quests and stuff. Of course, I had, like, a little laptop that I projected onto a TV screen, of course, but, you know, it was very hard to see. I'm running low. I have no food. I gotta go find food eventually. You know, it was like very hard for me to see, and so I was looking up, like, are there ways to, like, you know, because I was familiar with a little bit with, like, hacking games, like, you know, are there like hacks that I can do where, like, I can make the font bigger or something? Like, is there something out there like that? And so I discovered mods, and, like, the rest is history. First mod I ever downloaded was Clear Font 2, and that alone did a lot for me to be able to play the game. Like, I mean, I was like, whoa, you know, I can read stuff now, right? Like, it made everything, I mean, it was hard because, like, the font was so big. And so I discovered all kinds of add-ons. Discovered, you know, unit frames, Xperl, you know, all kinds. I don't even remember half of them. Bartender, so many add-ons. And, you know, I would download tons of add-ons. I was always trying out new add-ons, always, you know, like I do to this day, changing up my UI, you know, learning new things. And at the time, I played with a mouse and keyboard like you know, everybody else did, and I was having a lot of trouble with it. Like, I just was, you know, it was hard because I mean, I've been a console gamer my whole life. The only PC games I ever played at that point were Diablo 2 and World of Warcraft. Of course, Diablo 2 was mostly a mouse game. There's a little bit, you know, hotkeys here and there, but mostly, you know, you were using the mouse. And so with WoW, it was very different. It's very weird using WASD. Some people, it's very natural, you know, but for me, I was like, man. So, like, I started, like, I wonder if there's a way that I can use a controller to play this game. You know, like, that sounds ridiculous. And then I discovered, like, there actually was a program. At that time, there was a program called Switchblade. And so like you could download Switchblade, and it would, it had the thing where, you could use like it would map your buttons out for you, and you could use modifiers. And for a while I used that for a few months actually. So about 6 months into the game of me playing the game, I had discovered Switchblade, and I've been playing with a controller ever like from 2007, 6 months into of my time playing WoW. So like I've been using a controller longer than I've been not using a controller, like by a lot. Playing the game without a controller to me at this point would be weird, right? So, but of course Switchblade, like, it got weird. They wanted a subscription, and that annoyed me. I'm like, I'm not gonna pay a subscription to use a program to map out buttons. And then I was like getting really frustrated with that. But luckily, like right when that happened, I discovered another program called Pinnacle Game Profiler, and so you had to buy that one. So I was like, heck with it, it's worth it, I'll buy a program, right? So I bought Pinnacle Game Profiler. Same concept, worked the exact same way, worked really well, and I used that one. Of course, now that one's called PadStar. Same program, or same, program developer, just a different name because it's for Windows 10. That's what I use now. So there's other ones out there like XPad, I don't know, there's all kinds. You can actually now, I mean, you could even just use Steam if you want. You can, because like Steam will work as a WoW, or a button mapper. So you can even do that. Of course, if you use console port, there's like the WoW Mapper program. So there are a lot of options. I use PadStar. I have the custom setup myself, and it doesn't just work with WoW either. I use it with all kinds of games. Like sometimes I do like weird hybrid, like where I'll use the joystick on my controller, but then use the mouse. Like Minecraft. That's how I play Minecraft. So like I play a lot of PC games with a controller. I prefer controller. It just feels more natural. It feels easier on my hands. So there's all that kind of stuff. Hold on one second. All right, sorry about that phone call. But anyway, yeah. So got my controller set up. Everything eventually, like, it's all worked out. Pretty much ever since then. Play with a controller, and yeah. And so at that time I was playing a hunter, Night Elf Hunter, and I would solo. Like, I would always do solo content. I would never do dungeons. I was nervous. I mean, well, I should rephrase that. I did do dungeons every now and then. Like, I remember doing Dead Mines. I went through the process of finding a group. I remember one time I made my stepdad really mad because he wanted me to go somewhere with him, and I was in the middle of a dungeon. It took me like an hour to get into the dungeon. I was like, let me finish this game first. Might be a little bit, and then I'll go. And he was so mad because he's older, and he's like, you're gonna play a video game, like, wait on a video game. And I'm like, you don't understand, dude. For one, like, I had to explain it to him, and even then he didn't get it, but it is what it is. Like, but I was like, dude, I have waited forever to get into this game. I am not leaving now, because back then it took forever to get into a group. But yeah, so I would do a little bit here and there, but I didn't do a lot. Did Dead Mines. I think I did like Stockades once or twice, and then I joined a guild or something. I forget how I met the people that I think I just like randomly grouped up with them or something. But there was a group of people that like they would group in chat, like, hey, looking for a DPS for this dungeon. And so I went in with them on a BRD run, because like BRD was like the big deal at the time for some reason. I don't even know why, but everybody was doing BRD. It's like, I should do BRD, I guess. And so I went in there, and I remember, like, I didn't know anything about the dungeon. I didn't know anything about anything. And at this point now, CC was a big thing, which CC is like crowd control. Like, if there's a pack of enemies, you don't just take them all on, right? Like, that was not how you did things. You would, assign each person to control one of them. So, like, as a hunter, I would use Frost Trap or Freezing Trap, whichever one it is. I think it's Frost Trap. And it would, hold them in place for like a minute, and then, we could focus on other enemies. So, like, my job was to, do that. Now, the thing is at the time, I didn't know anything about CC. I'd never used my traps, ever. Like, I never used them. I'm a noob. Complete noob. And so, like, and also, it was kind of hard because, like, so as a hunter, like, in Classic, like, you put a trap down at your feet, and then you have to tag the enemy, and then bring them to you, and then when they freeze, you don't want to keep hitting them with your bow. And so, like, you had to, I mean, when you'd never done it before, you had to learn how. And so, like, I was a little bit embarrassed because, like, for one, I didn't know what they were talking about, and number two, I never did it before. So they were so cool about it, though. Like, they're like, all right, dude, it's fine. You've never done it before. We'll teach you. Don't worry about it. You'll get the hang of it. And so, like, I would, you know, failed a few times, and then I got the hang of it, and then after that, I knew what I was doing. So they'd be like, trap this guy, trap the box, trap the blue box. That's what they would tell me to do. And so I would do it. No problem. And that's how I learned. I learned how to do dungeons, and I did BRD tons with those guys. You know, they were, and that's how I found out about Burning Crusade. So like, yeah, you know, we'll you know, level up to 60, and then we'll level up to 70, and then we'll do raid Karazhan. And I'm like, what's raiding? What's Karazhan? You can level up past 60 now? You know, and like, so I discovered Burning Crusade, and that's when I really started to get into the game, all because I just like randomly found a group of people that were cool. And so that kind of showed me the value of grouping up with people. Unfortunately, I don't know what happened to those guys. You know, things just kind of happen, like people move on or whatever. And you know, so I leveled up my hunter, and or you know what? I remember now. So my hunter was on a PvP server. That's what it was. And after a while, like, I just kind of got tired of playing on a PvP server. So, and I wanted to kind of experience Horde. So I leveled up a warrior, a Horde warrior. Horde Tauren warrior named Caboose. And that became my main for a really long time. So like through BC, I leveled him up to max, leveled him up to 70. Never did get flying, by the way. Just want to say, never did get flying. And like by the time I had leveled him up to max, Sunwell was out. So like at this point, like it was all about the dailies on Isle of Quel Danas. And so I was doing that a ton. Like I love doing those every single day. I would wake up. First thing I would do is do those dailies. And then near the end of BC, I met a guild. They were called Knights of the Old World. I still remember them. Like I remember the raid leader's name was, I don't even know if like any of these people even play WoW anymore. But the raid leader's name was Dark Reaver, and there was this cool guy mage named Ladran. And he was like the one I grouped up with a lot for whatever reason, because we were just like happened to level around the same time. And he was so cool. Like we would like chat all the time, like play the game together. Like he was just this cool guy. And there were other people that I played with that were in the guild. And they were fun. Like it was really fun for a long time. There was like a couple that were there. They were like they both played Taurens. it was cool. And so like we played for a really long time. I played with them all the way up to like, so at the end of BCE, I remember this. Headless Horseman. I did my first ever Headless Horseman for the Halloween event, and I remember every single day I would group up with those guys and we would go do Headless Horseman. It was so much fun. And back then, like everybody had to do the quest. So like nowadays you just all kind of share it. Back then everybody had to kill the Headless Horseman and turn in the quest individually. So you would do the Headless Horseman 5 times, and so we would do it every single day. And it was fun. I mean, we had fun doing that stuff. And then Wrath came out. I was still with those guys. And Wrath came out. And so we all leveled up to 80. And I did dungeons with them. And that's what we did. We farmed, what were they, emblems or badges or whatever. I forget what they were in Wrath. But that's when I really got into dungeons, was in Wrath. So I remember doing like Halls of Lightning with those guys, trying to get a weapon. And I remember switching, at this point I switched to a Death Knight, because Death Knights were awesome. and I was a blood DPS blood Death Knight, because blood wasn't tank at the time. So like that was, and I was doing crazy damage as a blood Death Knight. It was so much fun. And yeah, did that tons. Like just played tons of Wrath with those guys. But something happened, unfortunately, you know, as things can go with the guild. Some people were all about that new, what was it, Age of Conan. I forget, was that what it was called? Age of Conan. It was like an MMO. They were like, this is going to be the new thing, and a bunch of people left to go play that. Whatever. Like, I tried it for like 5 seconds, like, this game sucks, and went back to playing WoW. And, you know, other people, like, there's just a lot of stuff that went down. People didn't want to play anymore or something like that. Like, and so, like, a lot of people just were never logging in. So I was like, you know, I need to find a new place to... I want to find a new group of people to play the game with, because I want to do dungeons still. And so, like, unfortunately, like I said, like a lot of those guys were gone, so I had been listening to the Instance podcast at the time. Scott Johnson and Randy Jordan, who's now works for Blizzard, Randy Deluxe. And I was listening to them like every day, or not every day, but anytime they had a new podcast. I discovered them like right at the beginning of Wrath, because I remember the Jiggernaut episode where they were talking about like playing Wrath, like their first Wrath experience, and that was so much fun, and like I really liked them. So I was listening to them talk about their guild. They had a guild on Earthen Ring called AIE, and they were talking about how much they loved it and how cool their guild was. And I was like, I'm gonna join AIE. That's exactly what happened. So I had to restart again all over, and I went to Earthen Ring. I created Kephas, the Paladin, and the rest is history. I remember at the time what was crazy, because Wrath had been out for a little bit by now. I think we probably were in Ulduar when I started leveling up Kephas. And at that point in time, there was something crazy going on in the game where you could level up insanely fast by doing PvP. And that's how I leveled up Kephas. I leveled up Kephas by doing PvP, and I was like level 80, I swear, in like 2 weeks or something crazy. It did not take me long. Because I just played constantly, leveled up Kephas, joined AIE. Man, the rest is history. Joined AE and fit right in. Like I was like in chat talking to people. People like like in the first day, like it was kind of crazy. There was I was just chatting in the guild chat, like just having fun, giving people like tips or whatever, or learning new things, getting to know people. And like I had an officer at the time, like whisper me like, "You're gonna fit in here. I can already tell you." And I was like, "Oh," And people were cool. Like I mean, like big guild, and they were very active and still are. Still big guild, still active. Chatting about all kinds of stuff, talking about like lore in the game, talking about just different things like that. And at the time they had this really cool add-on. It's called Call to Arms, and what it would do is it would use a chat channel to find groups. So they had AIE LFG is what it would use, but you could use it had an interface to it, so it was like a rudimentary group finder basically, and it would use a chat channel to do it. And you could basically like go there to find a group. So like you'd see that there's people are looking for a group. So it literally was like the LFG tool, but like not the dungeon one where you like get teleported to dungeons or whatever, but the other, like the party finder is what it was. And it was like just like that too. I mean, almost exactly like how the party finder is. It was very similar. And it was awesome because like you go there like looking for someone to run this dungeon with, running the daily, or want to do Halls of Lightning for the Edge of Ruin, or I forget where the Edge of Ruin was, but that was the weapon I remember wanting. So like I would like DPS looking for everybody else. It made finding a group very easy because like people were using that tool. And then people would be like, hop in Vent. We use Ventrio. And people would hop in Vent. You go in there and you chat. And that's how I got into dungeons. It was really awesome. And the cool thing about like doing dungeons in Wrath is, like I said, everybody was doing it. It was a big part of the game. And so I would meet different people. And I remember running one time. I ran Utgard Pinnacle. That's what it was. And so we did Utgard Pinnacle, and I was running with a group of people that I actually did a lot. I just happened to do a lot of dungeons with them, specifically because they were always running dungeons. And I remember saying in this event, I was like, hey guys, I'm so sorry. I have a vision problem, and there is a boss here that gives me a lot of trouble. And it was I forget what his name was. He's the one that dropped the blue proto drake, the spear guy. Basically, like he had this mechanic where he would make half the floor a collar, full of blue smoke or whatever. And at the time, like I had a hard time predicting when that was going to happen and which side, because like it would hurt you fast. So I'd say, would someone mind calling out which side of the floor to avoid? And and so like this someone in there who happened to be an officer was like, yeah, I got you. And so like they were like, yeah, left, right, no big deal. And then they were like I was playing the game. I mean, I was doing DPS. Like I was like doing really good damage because paladins were awesome. And again, I'm looking at your DPS here, and you say you have a vision problem, and I'm like, yeah. And they're like, that's crazy. Like you're able to play the game. How bad is your vision? Like, I explain it. Like I'm blind in one eye, really, really poor vision. And they're like, dude, that's all. And then they were just like really like happy that like I was able to play the game and stuff like that, and like that I had a good attitude and I was fun to play with. And like after that, we started a raid team. I joined their raid team and hung out with those guys, and that was literally like from then on, like I raided, finally got into raiding. I was nervous wreck the first time, and raided for a long time after that. And that was my crew. And AIE, like just had a group of friends. Like some of those people, like a lot of those people, I am real life friends with to this day. We all live, like, they all live far away from me, so like, but you know, as a formality, like a lot of them, because they were such good friends to me. Like during a time when I didn't have a lot of friends, I was, you know, home a lot and I didn't really have an opportunity to get out. I had my church friends, which are still some of my best friends, and I had my WoW friends who I hung out with outside of church, you know. And so like I had, for the first time, like I had a large group of friends, and I was always having people that I would talk to. Like we'd play WoW late at night and hang out in Ventrio, chat about life and all kinds of stuff. And like I said, they became some of my best, like some of my closest friends. I invited a number of them to my wedding, you know, and so like they were like, you know, they're friends. I still friends on Facebook. Some of them don't play WoW anymore. Some of them moved on to different servers. You know how things go. And yeah, I mean that. But like that's like for me, the best thing about WoW was meeting those guys. They were some of the coolest people I've ever known. So. Like, sorry, not meaning to take this. I didn't mean to do that, but sorry, dude. I don't think they were looking, but yeah. So like, that's my WoW story. Still play now. I don't have as many friends that I play with now. I've got a lot going on in life. I've got a family now. Things are a little bit different now. But that's definitely, I mean, like that's why like it shapes so much of my opinion about the game in terms of the social aspect and you know all that kind of stuff. That like I have to remember that not everybody's social, not everybody's about that. That's not as important to other people as it was to me. But that's definitely like, you know, I got into a game because the game was cool, because the world was cool, and then I made a bunch of friends, and that was like, you know, that surpassed the game for me. Is, you know, getting to know people that without the game I would have never known. And you know, they were some of the coolest people, and still are. Like I said, still talk to some of them. You know, still see them in the game. You know, different schedules now, but it is what it is. But you know, like, just that's the best part. Just getting to know some cool people. So that's how I got into WoW, and that's basically after that the rest is history. I still play, more focused on YouTube now, and that's a big part of where my WoW focus is nowadays. But yeah, that's kind of my my WoW story. So there you go. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, let me know by clicking that like button. And feel free to share it with your friends so they can enjoy it as well. And if you'd like to see more videos, you can subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon to be notified as soon as new videos are posted. You can also follow me on Facebook, and if you'd like, you can support my work on Patreon. Links to all that stuff can be found in the description below. This is Kephas. Until next time.